Hello, everyone. My name is Wendy Rossoff, and welcome to this SAG-AFTRA Voiceover Lab conversation with Atlas Talent Agency. I'm going to get right into introductions so that we can spend as much time as possible chatting with our guests. We have Jonn Wasser, who is the co-founder of Atlas. We have Heather Dame, an executive VP, Tim Walsh, executive VP, and Nate Zeitz, executive VP. So I'd like to just kick this off by asking each of you what your specialties are, and can you just share a little bit about what led you to becoming an agent?
I'll start. I would say that my specialty is basically television affiliates, network promos, movie trailers. For some reason, I always wanted to be an agent. When I was in high school, when there was an ICM, and ICM was based at 660 Madison Avenue. When you could walk in, I literally would just be able to walk in and talk to the people in the mailroom and all that stuff. And I was like, this is really cool. And then when I was an English and acting major, I found out in college very simply, very quickly, I couldn't act, but I was very good at getting jobs for other people because, as people would say, I have no fear. I didn't give a hoot. I would just call people, hey, Wendy, you got to hire so and so. And, you know, I would just get it done. So I figured, ah, I'm pretty good at this. And that's really what it is. Plus, I really love actors, and I know I can't do what they do. God bless you all.
Thank you, Jonn.
I'm Heather Dame. I head up our West Coast branch in our animation and game department, but I started in our New York office as a promo agent. So I have quite a few relationships in that area, and I still work a bit in promos as well. So I kind of work in all three areas. I started at Atlas when I was 27. I'd already had a career in production, television production. I brought crazy people onto daytime television shows and judge shows for a living. And I decided that that wasn't what I really wanted to do. So I switched careers, and I actually also went to school for acting, but quickly realized it was just not, I didn't have the constitution for it. I really needed something, more steady and every day. I just didn't have what it took to do that as a career. So I actually switched and found Atlas while I was looking into casting initially. I didn't really know much about voiceover and discovered that you get to both mix the world of agenting with casting. And I really love that mix of my right and left side of my brain.
Fabulous. Thank you. Tim, let's go to you.
Sure. Hi, Tim Walsh. I run the commercial department. I've always done voiceover commercials, so that is my specialty. I have a degree in acting, and unlike John, I can act, but I choose not to. I enjoyed the behind the scenes more. I enjoyed being a stage manager. I enjoyed, I guess, like people said, being in charge. I like to be in charge. But I love working with actors, and I was at Innovative for 2 years before, and I think this is my 20th year doing commercial voiceover, and I still find it fascinating every day.
Awesome. Thank you. And Nate.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nate Zeitz. I run the radio imaging department and co-run the TV affiliate department with John, following his lead. I'm the relative newbie here at Atlas. I joined the agency in January of 2024, having spent the previous 21 years at CEST Talent Agency, where basically I started the radio and affiliate departments. I said to them, "Hey, give me a desk, give me a phone, give me an opportunity, and I'll see what we can do here." And that was 21 years earlier. So it was quite a run. And then before that, I got my first job out of college at the William Morris Agency, and that kind of just happened organically. I, like Tim and John, had a background in college in theater and music. That's not what I studied, but I did a lot of that. And I decided coming out of school that like Heather, I didn't really have the stomach for it. It just didn't really appeal to me to make it a career. But the business side was always really appealing. So after speaking with some family members, they this particular person said, "Hey, you might have a personality that is cut out for agency life," and I had no idea what that meant. But one thing led to another. Got a job at William Morris as a floater, and then landed at a VO assistant, and that's really where I learned the foundation of voiceover. And I took that with me to CESD and then to Atlas.
Fabulous. And because we were talking about it right before we invited folks in, can you tell us exactly what radio imaging is?
It's a very particular niche within our business. It's not governed by the union, so it's non-jurisdictional. And essentially, what it entails is stations all need a brand voice. It's the voice that you hear in between the music, of course, in between the on-air personalities. It's the glue, as I like to describe it. It's that voice that you subconsciously hear while you're in the car, if you're listening here at home, in your home, wherever you may be, in the office, and it's just the voice that's talking to you about the station and the music and the personalities and what's going on locally in the community. So, and every station has a different format, from country to top 40 to hot adult contemporary to urban, news talk, sports. And so depending on the format, depending on the taste of the program director that you're working with, they all like to have a different type of voice. So there's tremendous opportunity out there in radio. Always has been.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to start asking some more specific questions. I know so many of the folks who participate in the SAG-AFTRA voiceover lab are either in process of making a demo or refreshing a demo. What is it that you listen for when you receive voiceover demos? Is it quality of voice, expression, variety? And how does it differ for each genre within voiceover? What are the expectations for demos?
I think that's a really good question. I'll start, and I'm sure everybody else has a answer. I always say it's not about the voice. Some of the people that we represent who are very successful, dare I say, talk like me. And you'd think, what? It's the interpretation. It's all about the interpretation. And each of our different genres have different interpretations. And that's really what I listen for. It's all about interpretation, and interpretation is acting. So somebody will say, "Oh, I really like the voice." Not really. What you really like is the interpretation. And I come back to that, and I say it to people in the office too. Could you hear this on television or while you're watching on your phone or something? And that's really the big thing. Does this, touch you somehow? That's at least what I listen to. Others might have different ideas.
So for commercials, and for me specifically in commercials, I don't require you to have a produced voiceover demo. Your voiceover demo is your headshot. It's to get you in the door. I will take stuff that you recorded on your own, because most demos I get that people send, they weren't ready to make a demo at that moment. Or it's a super produced, and then when I send the auditions, it's not the same quality that I'm expecting. So I am looking for more of like what your studio quality is, what your home studio, how do you self-direct, than your voiceover demo. It's rare in commercials. It happens that we'll send your demo out for pitching instead of auditioning. But for voiceover, it's mostly based on your auditions more than your demo. So your demo is great to use to get in the door. But once you get in the door and you start booking stuff, your demo should now actually be spots that you actually booked in the commercial world that I can send out. So I'm never saying go spend a ton of money. I'd rather you spend the money on classes and produce your own little demo and send it to me, so it gets you in the door instead of producing something that is overly produced sometimes, and I hear it and I love it, and then I send you auditions and it just doesn't sound like the same person. That's just the turn off.
Yep.
I'll go animation and games. Although I'll say, I think after hearing you talk, Tim, I might actually use commercial demos to pitch more than you do.
Probably.
Because in promos, sometimes the promo demos just don't line up with what they're looking for, right? So I do use commercial demos quite a bit to pitch, just to say that out loud. But for animation and games, it is a very different beast. So not every person who is signed at Atlas immediately has an animation and game demo. Sometimes they're a TV film actor, or they're a comedian, or they have other sort of materials. They do have materials for us to look at and to kind of vet and figure out what are their instincts like, what is their comedy like, how do they approach characters, how do they create characters. That's a lot of what you're looking for in those areas. So you can sometimes figure that out without an animation demo, right, with someone's theatrical career. If you don't have that kind of material from your theatrical career, you do need that animation and game demo. And I will say you probably need it to get in the door, and then you also need it later, because ultimately there's nothing for us to pitch you with. There's nothing for us to showcase. That's how casting is also casting, right? They're also listening. How do you create and sustain characters? So for an animation demo, that's what we're looking for. We're listening to how you create and sustain characters and that scene and how you breathe life into it. So I'm not looking for 18 accents unless you really, really do them well. But if you do a great accent but didn't create and sustain that character, then that shows us something, right? But ultimately, I a lot of times hear people reach for accents that they do not have in their first animation demo and game demo. I would say to not do that. Ultimately, better to really stick in the wheelhouse of what you really can nail and you feel comfortable in, and then realize you need to work on that thing. But honestly, like, we have people in animation and games who really kind of stick in one category and succeed wildly, and then other people who are full utility players, and that's what they do. So it does take all types of actors to fill a roster. And so we're not only just looking for people who can showcase that they can do 8 characters. That's not the only thing that we're looking for on those demos. One other thing to state is you can combine your animation and game demo if that's workable for you. There are some people who do such disparate reads in games from what they do in animation that they really do kind of have to parse them out for them to be sellable.
Great, thank you. Nate.
Well, for radio, I often describe imaging as theater of the mind. You're trying to make an emotional, creative connection with the listener. So for me, what I look for is in a demo is someone who just oozes, if this makes sense, instinctive creativity. It's one thing to be able to take a script and read it that's been provided to you, but what I think separates the good talent from the great talent is people who can take something and run with it, create new parts of the script, whether it's instinctively as on the fly, or someone who actually takes the time to write out some clever ideas to just accentuate the copy. Because, radio is very different from other areas of voiceover. Again, theater of the mind. So whether it's a character voice, or if you're doing a strange, funny accent, or if you can do sound effects. I mean, anybody can read a script, in my opinion. Anybody can just read the script, but you have to bring more to it. TV affiliates, I would say, and Jonn will back me up on this, range. Back in, and Jonn can speak about this much more than I can, but in the early years, before everybody wanted to do this, and this is what I've come to learn, is that back in the 80s and 90s, everybody wanted the big, strong, authoritative voice, and that was very popular. But that's dying on the vine these days. People want, again, an emotional connection. They want to understand what makes their TV station special and what they're doing locally in the community. So it is also storytelling, but you have to be able to pivot from a warm, empathetic human interest story to a hard-hitting investigative read to a funny, lighthearted holiday piece. You have to show all of that in your demo. A creative services director, a promotions manager, they're going to want to make sure that especially because their budgets are strapped so thinly these days. They can't afford, it's hard for them to afford one voice, let alone two. They need to know that you can bring an array of different voices. So that's personally what I look for when I'm listening to demos.
Thank you so much. That all four of you gave such tremendous answers on that. This is coming from someone in our audience. Tim, you mentioned classes. Are there particular kinds of classes or training you all think are important for aspiring voice actors? Any particular resources or classes that you love?
Yeah, I think any improv class for any form of performance is fantastic, even if you're not the greatest improver. Um, how do I say this about being nice? Copywriters think they're funny, but your job is to make it funnier. So if you have that kind of improv experience, that really helps. I also think that if you're looking to do voiceover commercial classes, I always say the best thing to do is take it from a casting director that is offering it. One is they can bring you in on their projects. So it is a good source to get in front of a casting director. They like you come back to me and say, Tim, I just took this class with XYZ. I can then pitch you to that person, like, hey, you remember they just took your class? Here's some samples that they've just been working with. So I would say anything in that area, but improv is very helpful.
Great. And this is for Nate. Regarding radio imaging, does the imaging talent you represent focus on voiceover alone, or do they also have audio background production skills?
That's a great question. A lot of the talent that we represent, that excel in radio, many of them, most of them have come up through that with that background. They started in radio, they were a producer, they were a copywriter, an engineer, an assistant program director. Uh, it helps to have an understanding of the radio business. It doesn't mean that you can't be successful if you come from outside the radio world, but yes, many of them have an audio background. Vast majority, vast majority.
Great. All right. So good to know. All right. So how much or how little do you participate in the nitty-gritty of your talent's career? What should someone who is signed to your roster expect in the day-to-day? Who would ever like to take this?
Sure, I'll jump in really quick there because it's ever changing, probably for most of us. But commercials is very audition heavy compared to other aspects of the business. So the day-to-day changes, but you should expect that in the morning you're gonna get your auditions into me so I can listen to them and send them out on time, please. And then throughout the day, we are sending you the auditions that you are right for, that it probably either do the same day or do the next day. And then inside of that, we're then pitching business to new companies. We're doing contracts. We're working for the next day, checking the holds. So we do a lot behind the scenes, but for you guys, it's mostly going to be you're going to be receiving auditions from 9 to 9 if you're on the East Coast, because we have a LA office, and if you are signed with us, you're signed both coasts. So you do get Los Angeles based and New York based. So our poor actors are working from 9 to 9 most days.
Got it. Anybody else?
Or 6 to 6 if
Or
you're in
6 to 6,
LA.
depending where you are. I'd rather do 9 to 9, but that's just me.
Fantastic. Should I move on? Does anybody have anything they'd like to add on to that one?
I would say that we're doing a lot more pitching and saying your name and sending your demo than you'd ever know. We might pitch you 15 times before we get that interest or that thing. You might be on multiple lists a day. And so when you get a requested audition or you get something from, my world, you get something from Actors Access, it didn't just come. Usually I went through there and pitched you for it and talked to the casting director. And in Jonn's world, you get a requested audition for a network promo, or those are things that we spend lots of time and energy on the back end trying to get our talent appointments and times for. And you're not always going to see it, but you'll see like the proof of it, if that makes sense. Like when you see those sort of things coming through and or we send you a note and say how great that audition was, whatever it may be, we do try to give as much communication as we can to our talent. I mean, Jonn will definitely call you and tell you to redo your audition.
I'm a big phone person. I don't.
He is.
Sorry,
So
old
we,
school.
well, yeah. So, I mean, we are, we're very communicative as much as we can be with the workload, but there is more than you realize that agents are doing on the back end. And you can see the proof of it. You can see, like, as it comes through in your inbox, you notice those little things. You know that your agent is doing those things behind the scenes for you. We're not able to communicate everything we do because if we did, it would take us 5 times the amount of time to communicate it all, right? It's, there's just so many moving pieces.
Absolutely. Nate, anything to add? Should I move on?
Um, Everything happens so fast in the promo, particularly in the promo world, because I'm also overseeing a few sports accounts now here at Atlas, and it's got to be fast. Some other areas can be there can be a little bit more time, and John can speak to this too. But you got to be available, you got to be accessible. You have to turn your stuff around quickly, and you have to be. If we call you, an actor needs to be available at a moment's notice sometimes. The networks, they're not going to wait. Especially in this climate, they've got so many options available to them. And John, I'm sure you can speak about that much more than I can.
I would agree. I mean, my auditions, and Nate, a lot of them, and I'm known for this, ASAP. I mean, fast, like yesterday. And if you can't do it, just communicate. Hey, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Got it. Okay. And it's really kind of weird because the buyers are moving quickly. And I mean, I will tell you that Friday, and Nate knows this because we dealt with it and Heather was helping. Friday, I thought, 5 o'clock Eastern, it's kind of quiet. I have to go out to a business dinner. I get on the subway, I get out at 5:30, and all hell broke loose. In 10 minutes, between NBC, between two trailer things I need now. I mean, it was crazy.
And we have to service the buyers because if we don't, they're not going to work with us. It's that simple. They'll grow impatient. They're under a tremendous amount of pressure to deliver their work on time, and they rely on us. We have to do it. So then we have to put the pressure on the actors. The actors have to be accessible, and the great ones always are.
So this question just came in and it's a perfect piggyback to what you just said, Nate. Can you talk a bit about the relationship your agency has with buyers, clients, ad agencies, network studios, radio stations? Is there an active effort to build rapport with those areas of the business, or is that not a thing?
Oh, it's absolutely a thing. So much of what we do is relationship building, I've been doing this now for, 20 some plus years, and I'm still doing, you never stop. You have to nurture those relationships. Our relationship is built on trust.
Hmm.
Buyers need to know that they can rely on us and that it's not just about providing them with great talent, but it's about how we conduct ourselves. It's about, fair negotiations. And you have to, I go to conferences every year. I'm going back to New York in September. I go to Nashville. Before the pandemic, there was conferences in LA and Las Vegas. And sadly, some of those have gone away, but we spend a tremendous amount of time, getting to know our buyers, and because we want them, if they move around to different places, some go to really, rise to big positions. We want the phone call. So it's extremely important, and we have to be receptive. We have to get back to them. I've heard tons of stories throughout my career of agents that don't return phone calls.
Hmm.
And that to me is just mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. I make a point. If I can't return the phone call, I'll text the buyer and be like, I'm on a call. I'll get back to you and as soon as possible. I don't want them to feel ignored.
Yeah.
It's personal services. We're in personal services. It's that simple.
Great. Okay, so you just mentioned this, and this is something that I wanted to ask. So from your perspective as talent agents, how has the industry changed most in the post-COVID climate?
Ooh. Heather, you want to take that?
I can. I mean, I
Go
can go. I
ahead,
know
Heather.
Tim's going to say commercials are. I know he's going to. He unmuted to say commercials are completely remote now, and that
Correct.
every person has to have a broadcast quality home studio with Source Connect standard
Take it, Heather.
as the price of admission to audition in commercials. So did I get it? Okay. So that's that world. And interestingly enough, and I'll say, and promos has been. I mean, promos has been mostly remote since I started at Atlas as Jonn Wasser's assistant in 2007. So promos are not going back to, they're not freaking you a studio ever. So that was already that way, you know, and when the pandemic hit, we had so many talent who wanted to work in promos, or since we're bi-coastal, wanted to work on East Coast commercials or West Coast commercials, that most of our talent already had home setups. So like we pivoted very quickly, you know, in that realm. Some of our animation and game talent who are mostly for animation and games did not have those home studios and really had to build them at the time. So what's changed is, you know, of course, for the first couple of years in animation and games, it used to be all local LA, almost 100%. And then besides the one, you know, game company in New York that was all local New York, and they wouldn't go anywhere else. And in the pandemic, that switched to all remote. Who has the best studio and can you make it work? And everybody worked together to do that for a long while. I was a betting woman that I thought it was not really ever going to go back. I was wrong about that. You know, now that we're in this post-pandemic world, people really have realized that for animation and games more than animation, I'll say, they really want to control the environment and the microphone and make sure everything matches, because they don't do as much nuanced editing as they do in animation, that they really need it to kind of stick together fast. And so you're finding quite a bit is now local LA again. Not to say that there aren't people open to it. And so it's very standard now when you get an audition for that area for it to state if you can be remote, if you need to be in person, you know, what it may be. Animation tends to be much more open than it used to be. I used to like to say before pandemic, it was celebrities could be remote. Everybody else needed to be in LA. And now, you know, if they find the best actor in New York, they book them a studio. If they find the best actor in Atlanta, they often book them a studio. Sometimes we have actors who have to fly and come in person, you know, and as long as they're willing to do that, you know, be a local hire, you know, if a lot of times for an animation job they're willing to, it works out. So it's, you know, it's kind of all over the map, but commercials have gone the way of full remote, which evens the playing field for a lot of actors.
Great. If an actor has resistance to these changes, what is the mindset shift? How can they handle this in the best way possible?
Resistance to working remote?
Creating their own home studio, continuing to make upgrades, staying current with technology.
This is just the new. There's always going to be a change.
Yeah.
This is how the industry looks, and if you're an actor long term, you are always going to have to navigate through changes and huge changes in the industry. You're just going to have to do it. So you either do it or you don't. It's your career. I mean, that's just, you know, ultimately it's your responsibility to figure out your career. And so
it's like saying I'm not getting a headshot, but I want to be a model.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't.
Plus working from home affords you so many, it gives you convenience. You set your schedule. It's much more affordable. Once you build it, it's done, and then you book some jobs, and that obviously, you know, the studio pays for itself. You know, going out and about to studios the old-fashioned way. I mean, I lived in New York for 20 years, and so many of our actors would be coming into the agency and then going out to the casting community, you know, but that's a grind, you know, much way. Now, I guess you can make the argument, oh, but I'm losing that human experience, that personal camaraderie with casting directors, you know, but we got Zoom, you know, we find new ways to communicate with the people that we're working with. So, you know, I would think that people would welcome the opportunity to work from home.
Great.
No, I do. So.
Right.
We're a bi-coastal company that works fully together as one team. And we're on a hybrid schedule on both coasts. So we are kind of, that's why we had this remote, because we are every meeting we have together is on Zoom, because in order to include we have Seattle, LA, and 2 New Yorkers here.
Yep. Totally makes sense. All right. Thank you. So everyone's favorite topic, AI. What is your hot take on where we are with it and where we're heading in the voiceover industry?
So I'm gonna flip it on its head and basically say this. None of us are going to be able to. I think anyone who says they can predict exactly what's happening in AI, is incorrect. It's going to be something different. Like I was even on the phone with Tim Friedlander, who heads up NAVA today, and he was like, "This is my thought of what's going to happen in the next 18 months." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "But who knows?" And he's been fighting this in Washington D.C. So what I'll say is the first thing you can do is get informed and join community. And the National Association of Voice Actors is fighting this. They're going to Washington, D.C. and lobbying for laws. They're working with the union. They're doing all sorts of things. Like, don't just sit back. Go join. Be part of the community and part of the making a difference for the future of this. You'll also learn a lot about what needs to be in your contracts to protect yourself. You should learn as much as you can about the union contracts that have AI as part of those deals and what the consent structure is and exactly how it works so that because us as agents, you have to understand, are also learning how these contracts works alongside you. So we've got to do it together. We all have to learn how these contract works and how they're going to look out and how they're going to work out long term. Like even the union doesn't necessarily know 3 years from now how the contracts they negotiated will play out. They're going to have to watch them and try to change them as they play out. So it's really important to pay attention to that and watch it play out and participate. And I think that's really the biggest thing I can say, because ultimately this isn't something that is going to go away, but we can choose to have autonomy over it. We can choose to create our future with it rather than kind of sitting scared and letting it happen to us. And I think that's, if I'm saying that, like saying anything to actors about AI, it's that. Be proactive.
Fabulous. Anybody else want to kick in? I mean, that was kind of everything, Heather. That was amazing. Thank you. Okay, great. Let's pivot just a little bit. What are some common misconceptions about the voiceover industry that you frequently encounter, either from young talent or people that are outside of the business, just kind of generally speaking?
I would say the biggest misconception is a lot of people think that agents can book somebody. We cannot. If I had that magic wand, oh, I would be so rich. Our job is to get you the opportunities, pitch you, get you those auditions, but we have no power to book you. We can make our suggestions, we can star your name, but we are like the bottom of the chain of people who get to say who gets booked on their jobs. Our job is to get you the audition. Your job is to do a good job and book it.
Great.
I would say another thing is unless you catch lightning in a bottle, which has happened just a couple times during my career where you sign somebody and then they take off, most times it's going to be a long haul. If you don't have patience and if you're not willing to put in the work, this is not the right industry for you. I mean, I want to try to be positive here, but like you have to do the hard work, the networking, the marketing, building your website, working with coaches, all of the above. And it takes time, And remember, it's an extremely competitive environment. There are more voice actors in this industry now than ever before. You are competing against not just the top voice actors at agencies like Atlas and our competitors, but you're also competing against people who don't have representation throughout the country. So how do you distinguish yourself? You need to have a game plan. You need to have a business model and you need to execute it. And you need to be patient.
Great. For folks here who haven't gone through the process of having an agent, getting all of these auditions and not hearing anything back, not from you all, but not booking anything. You're talking about what you can do, putting in the hard work. So you mentioned a website, you mentioned coaching, you mentioned networking. Can you get into a little bit more detail about that in terms of networking and how an actor might successfully go about doing that?
Well, I'm only speaking about the radio and the affiliate world because it's really where I live. We don't expect our clients to do everything, but again, this is a partnership. So if I'm reaching out to stations about a particular talent that I represent, I'm expecting my clients to do the same thing. It's a lot easier, of course, if they come from that world and they know some of the folks, but you can't be afraid in this business. You have to be willing to take risks. So, a lot of I've worked with a lot of talent outside of radio, and I've explained to them, Here's how you go about reaching out to people, And it's a lot harder these days, I will admit, because, you're dealing with buyers who are scattered. They're stretched very thinly. But what would catch my attention if I'm a buyer sitting at my desk and I'm doing a million different things, you got to do something creative to entice me. You got to do something that nobody else is doing. And do I have the answer to what that is today? No, I don't. But you have to think about that as an actor. You have to think about, how do you have a very short period of time to catch someone's attention, and so whether that's telling a story about work you've done in the past, if you have a mutual connection, something you have to try to execute that. And I would also say, be persistent. If you reach out to somebody and you only do it once, it's not going to be successful. I mean, we're in a business of hearing no quite a bit, and that doesn't deter us. You have to be persistent. Don't be an annoyance, but be persistent. Figure out, what are the intervals between reaching back out to folks. You just got to be smart about it.
It's a balancing act. I also think, and I say this internally, if you're going to reach out to so-and-so, go to LinkedIn. Where did they go to school? Well, are you dealing with somebody who's 50 years old, or are you dealing with somebody who just graduated? There's some common denominator. I mean, Wendy, you and I just talked about it before it started. You worked at Radio City. I worked at Radio City.
Right.
There's our common denominator. I mean, if we were chatting again, I could be like, did you know this person? Did you know that person? And then suddenly it's like, oh, I like them. It's like, Heather's built an amazing animation video games business, and she doesn't, and I'm probably talking for her, go like, I'm not somebody at another agency. I do what I do. I don't compare myself to other agents. I really don't, because we each have our own individual styles, but we try to find some common denominator somewhere.
I'll pop in here. I'll pop in because Jonn, you taught me this, because but that's like finding a genuine connection, I think, is one of the most important things you can do. And so he's saying in a digital world, you can figure that out, because in a digital world, people have Facebook and LinkedIn, and they have information, and you can figure out where's our connection. Oh, hey, like if someone comes to me and says, hey, we both went to Tufts, like I'm going to pay attention to that email. Does it mean I'm going to sign the person? Maybe not, but I'm going to listen to their demo because there's that connection. The other thing I'll say is participate, go to events, meet people in real life. They do exist. If you're a radio imaging client, go to some of those things. If you're animation and games, if there's clinics, if there's become part of women in animation, become part of any of these groups that you can become part of and meet people. You might meet people that are out of left field who could hire you. You might meet the showrunner for an animated series and get an audition that way. It might not be as simple as the casting director or the ad agency or whatever it may be, but if you go and participate in as many professional groups as you can, you're gonna meet people naturally who will maybe become really great friends also, but you'll connect to and may also be people who can help shift and change your career.
Some of them will say, you're right. Hey, I'm not right for this, but I know somebody who is. And, Nate and I just worked on something for a network that was a request for a female, VO person, and they ended up booking a male VO person. I mean, and vice versa. I mean, you never know. You just never know. And I think Heather brought it up great. You're right. I went to Rutgers. One of our assistants went to same school. That kind of thing, I pay attention to it.
So real human connective tissue.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
because
a little
we're
bit
people.
of bribery, I would
Yes.
say. At the end of the year, you should absolutely send people that have booked you multiple times a $15 Dunkin' Donuts card just to get yourself on their radar for the following year. I know it sounds stupid, but when I receive it, I think it's amazing, and I remember that person. And it's just a little something. You know, I say thank you for booking me on the. I say Dunkin' Donuts because I prefer it, but whatever gift card you want to give. But just say thank you for booking me on that Union Radio spot. I got my insurance from it. Thank you for booking me on that industrial. It was my first booking. Here's a $10 Starbucks card. It's the little something that they don't get that gratitude that you should show as the actor because they're actually the ones who are paying you. So they're kind of your employer. Just a little gratitude at the end of the year, being like, thank you so much for a great year. You've booked me 4 times. Here's a little something for you and your team. Don't go crazy, but a little something to show gratitude goes a long way.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how being a human and thanking
Oh
people,
my
because
God.
most people just, even us, like I will have talent sometimes. I'll be having a really hard day, who will just send me a note being like, "Hey, I've just like wanted to tell you how grateful I am," and like just send
Mm,
me a note, and I'm like, it's like made my day. Like no
yeah.
one has told me in like months that they're grateful to me. So I think just those sort of things, just realizing we're humans too. We're all humans. We're all in this together. Like there's not a, there we might be salespeople, but we are also just people.
And
I
I
think
think
that's,
that's an important point. We are people. We're not just, hey, get me a job.
yeah,
And, and I will tell you because, Tim brought up, something. We have a client who I think, what, $5 or $10 every Christmas. And it's like, that's really nice, And I remember when I was an assistant and you get, a bottle of wine or something and you're trying to make ends meet, a bottle of wine means something. you
yeah.
know it really does. And we've said it to some people, and sometimes it goes like, eh, but I always say it's a tax deduction.
Right. I think this is such an important conversation to have, particularly as we're all like behind our screens and all caught up with socials and just hearing like that human connection and that reminder, it really does matter. While we were chatting about this, another question came in from someone who's listening. So they say, just listening to how each one of you sees the VO landscape comes off as fresh, informed, and dialed into the moment. How would you each describe the culture of your agency and what sets you apart from other agencies?
That's a
Oh,
great
I will
question.
jump in because I worked at another agency. So
Right.
yay. Um, no shade, no foul to any agency I've ever worked at. Don't come at me. But when we opened our Los Angeles office with Heather, John, myself, and Lisa, we made it very, very important that we are still going to be one company. I'm not competing with the commercial department in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles commercial department is not competing with me. We are one roster. Our client list is, there is no John clients, there's no Nate clients. They might specifically work in their areas, but they'll still be on my commercial list, my commercial roster. So our client base is, if you can do it, you're in. And I talk to Heather more than in Los Angeles, more than I talk to my husband some days. So we're always in communication via GChat, and we just really try to keep as Atlas Talent Agency is just one company. It's not Atlas New York or Atlas Los Angeles.
We all support each other. That was one of the things that really attracted me to Atlas, having spent 21 years previously at CESD. And it's not that I didn't have a great experience at CESD. I had an amazing experience there. And I wouldn't be here if I hadn't had, you know, the opportunity that was given to me there. But, I love the fact that we can all support each other, bounce ideas off of each other, and sometimes someone will bring a talent into a particular department, and the next thing you know, they're thriving with somebody else. And that's just the cool part about it. It's when you least expect it. It's happened in the short period of time that I've been here, a year and a half. I've seen it happen. So that's very rewarding. Um, and the other thing that I'll say is this is a very entrepreneurial type of agency. If you have a great idea, with me being the exception, as Lisa and John like to, joke with me about, like, I came in because I had that very unique background in radio, and I needed they wanted me to come in to fill a void. However, what I've come to learn about this agency, what I think is so special about Atlas is it's very entrepreneurial and it's built from within, you know, and Tim and Heather can speak about that a heck of a lot more than I can. We want to see the new generation of assistants rise up. Now,
Mm.
some don't want to be agents, and that's totally cool, right? But we reward hard work. It's work hard, play hard, and if you have a great idea, we want to hear about it. And because with everything going on in this world right now, with AI and the business shifting so rapidly, we need to find new areas of revenue, right? And I don't have all the answers, and so I look to, you know, the 20-some-year-old coming out of college. I hope that he or she has a brilliant idea that they can bring to the table and in time develop it.
Mm.
That's what I'm looking for.
Great. Yeah, I think that everybody here that is watching and listening to this can really sense the integrity and authenticity and the warmth that the four of you bring to the table, and that you're all on the same page. It's really quite unique and wonderful. So thank you for that. Okay, so is there a particular project that you're most proud of helping bring to life, or perhaps a career that you helped launch? Is there a one thing that you can think of that really sticks out for you?
I think it's the one specific thing is when somebody says I don't have to be a waiter or have um a part-time job, that they have now become a full their job is now being a VO person, that they have made enough of a living that they can do what they love. And then the opposite aspect of that is when people retire and they have a living to retire and they did voiceover
Oh,
all their year. I just feel like I helped them a little bit, and it makes me feel very proud that like I sustained their career for 20 years I worked in there, and hopefully the 20 years from the 20-year-old that just joined. So as long as they don't have to be a waiter or something that they don't want to do and they can do acting, I think that's a win for me.
yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it because we have a client that who's religious, and he texted me after church on a Sunday going, I just want you to know, he does a lot of network news stuff. You changed my life.
Mm.
I was shocked out of the blue. I didn't need a gift. I didn't need anything. It was just like I was in church with my family and I was about to get laid off, and suddenly you changed my life.
Wow, that's kind of profound, and that is a gift. I mean, that's just amazing.
Um,
We get to develop people from the ground up in a lot of instances. And so it's not, I don't know, when you said that, I was like, oh, it's not one person, it's every person.
Mm.
Like there's so many people that we've worked with and made a difference in their careers in palpable ways. And you get to, when you've been doing it long enough with them, with that actor and multiple actors, you get to watch their career trajectory. And sometimes you look back and go, huh, wow, I remember when we first brought you on, and yeah, that was like you had not done a job
That's right.
ever.
That's
And you
right.
didn't have your SAG card, and we had to get you Taft-Hartley lead. Ultimately, I think as much as there may be like certain clients or certain moments or certain things, I don't think any of us would like our jobs too much if we only were hanging on to one moment that was in the past. I think, for us, it's all of us just want to make a difference.
And there's something really special and really rewarding about client development. Like we've signed clients that have left other agencies, but they've already been like some of them have already been established and maybe they're lacking something, but there's just something really, I don't know, there's just something really special. I'm thinking about this particular client that I brought into Atlas who came in at my former agency as an on-camera talent, right? And then she was referred to the VO department and she books one big job, and then it got me thinking, oh, you've got the perfect sound for, top 40 and a hot adult contemporary radio. You're right there. And it happened. I mean, it was like profound. Like, and she blew up. And another guy that I signed, I just happened to go to a conference. You just never know what's going to happen. I went to a conference in Canada a few years back, and I wasn't even going to go. I got invited last minute. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come up. And two of the buyers that I've been working with for years, within a matter of 1 hour, they both sat down with me like, you got to sign this guy. You can't leave Toronto before you meet him. He lives here. I'm like, yeah, you hear it, but they're like, no, 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 meet the guy. And boy, am I thankful that I did, because within a matter of 2 months, he booked one of the biggest radio stations in the United States, and that led to like, whoosh.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
there's just something so profoundly rewarding about developing people. It makes you feel good, you know?
Mm, great. We are almost at time. Sadly, I could talk to the four of you all night long, but I will ask one final question. Can you impart some advice to actors who are young in the business to help them maintain a positive outlook and stay focused in the industry if they don't yet have the agency, if they don't yet have everything kind of the ball rolling?
Don't compare yourself to people on social media. Somebody will post, oh, I just booked a promo for Fox Sports or something. And it might be, no offense, a few $100s. Heather would know it better than I do. But it's like, then they go, well, I'm no good. I didn't get that opportunity. That person might have a relationship with a producer, might have gone to, whatever. But when you start doing that, you start doubting yourself. It's
Mm.
like, I don't look at, social media. I'm known for not posting stuff. I really just look, but I look at that and I go, oh my God, does it really make a difference? And I think Tim said it the best. You have to put in the work. And if you really put in the work, people will find you, whether it's us, whether it's theatrical or whatever. If you consistently do the work, everybody knows I'm a gym rat. Every day I'm at the gym practically.
Can I also say you should be having fun?
Oh,
Mm.
I do have fun.
You need to be
Not
like
you.
yeah, because if
No,
it's
I
not
have
fun,
fun.
but if it's not fun and you're not joyful, you're
That's
not bringing your best self when you're auditioning, when you're bringing things out. So like you have to figure out, how do you find the joy in it, as well as, I know it's hard because it's like all this work and it can feel like a grind, but if you can find the part that makes you feel empowered and you enjoy it and it makes you smile and you have fun and you can find a way to do the work and have fun, that's going to continue to see you through till you get that next step.
100%.
And I also
It will
think
come
that
through.
sorry, John, go ahead, finish.
No, I was going to say, Heather's 100% right. It will happen. It's a combination thereof. The work,
Everybody has to
the
start
fun.
from somewhere.
Yeah.
I will say that you don't, what I find for people that are just starting out is they think that we want this type of voice. So they'll put on that like deep voice that they don't actually have. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for authentic voices. So trust your own voice, trust your own skills, and don't, there's going to be somebody that has that deep voice already. So don't compete with that person. That person doesn't have your voice. So make sure that you're authentic with yourself and your voice, because there's nothing worse than, having somebody that it's just an unauthentic voice. We can hear it so quickly through the MP3s.
And then I would just say, as you build and maintain relationships with people, be kind, you know,
Yeah.
be be real, remember where you started from and treat people with respect. And a lot of this, you'd be, that doesn't always get reciprocated to us, but you want to book jobs, you want to just be kind. I can't say it any other way.
Nate, I love that. Let's just make a quick example. My old assistant, who very kind to, other actors have been kind to, now runs the casting director place. So you never know where that receptionist is going to be, where that intern is going to be, and we all remember that one person that was mean to us. We always remember as an assistant
Oh,
the
yeah.
name.
Remember mine.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're right, Nate. Be kind. It's a
Be
hard
kind.
business, but
It
we're
is.
not curing cancer, unfortunately. We're just doing voiceover. So be kind to each other, but
And
not
it
like in the
was
Ellen way where she
the
wasn't kind.
mean
The
to
actual
my
kind.
assistant, watch out. I'll remember. Don't treat assistants like SH blah blah. They are there to help you and they have a difficult job. Probably in some ways just as difficult as ours. So if you're mean to an assistant, That's not good.
Yeah.
We remember. And I remember when I was an assistant and who was mean. And that was a long time ago. People have long memories.
Sure,
Mhm.
sure do.
This is a great place to wrap it up with the thought of being kind and human connection and work hard and keep your nose down and stay off of social media and comparing yourself. Thank you so much for your time. I know that we've all gotten so much out of this experience, and we're so grateful. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Care,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye-bye.